could see the last.
So is it over then?
No, 2 more innings left. We have 6 outs. We can make 3.
They should have like lucky, hats or something.
Yeah, but I can't wear them.
Oh, that's the reason.
What is that Telemagic bill?
What's that?
What is that Telemagic bill?
I'm not sure. This one says it's paid.
Debbie, LR&S, do you know where that would be on this report, on this budget? You know where LR&S is on this one? Yes, LR&S is. Okay. Yeah. Are you good to go? Welcome, everyone. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, remain standing for an invocation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, States of the Republic, for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear God, as we gather this evening, as always, we thank you for this wonderful town that we live in, and this council asks for strength, courage, and wisdom. And we thank you for the privilege that it is to serve this community. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Call to order the Mooresville Town Council. Gentlemen have had a chance to read the minutes from our previous meeting. I need a motion to either approve or amend the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Made and seconded. All in favor? And I will do a roll call. Jeff?
Aye.
Shane?
Aye.
Councilman Sweeney?
Aye.
Dustin?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Approval of minutes passes. Dustin, Shane, 5-0. This is the second reading and final budget adoption meeting. We have had the budgets before us for some time now. After our last meeting, we knew that there were some areas that may or may not need to be cut. You have the budgets in front of you. You also have, the summary of the 2023 budget. There are some items in there that I think do need some special attention this evening. If we look at LR&S, it looks like we are overspending that on revenue, above revenue by $235,000. If you look out to the very far right-hand column, Recurring budgets balanced with receipts, yes or no. When she's got, where that's marked, Baker Tilly has that marked Y for yes. What that basically means is we are balanced on that budget, except for capital outlay expenses. If you look on page 8 of our budget summaries also, LR&S is down at the bottom. If you look at the very bottom, it does say equipment purchases, other capital outlays. We have talked about needing a new dump truck. Dave, help me out here. They're saying that the dump truck, even though we've put our name in, it will be sometime fourth quarter of next year. This budget, as presented, does fund that truck. It is funding some of the surplus out of that LR&S. We move on down to LIT, Public Safety. That's the old LOIT for us old ones. If you go to page 15, it starts with the very bottom. There are benefits, the employee benefits, communications, the dispatch cards, the insurance. Those are going to be reoccurring charges. If you look below that, you will see that there are projects out of the other capital outlays or a capital improvement plan, buildings, air packs, masks, and bottles. Matt, if I'm correct, our current SCBA tanks will expire at the end of 2024? 2023. So that is kind of an important item. I think in the past we have received some grants on those. I know that you were working diligently on that, and I know that we also have lease programs available. If you go back and look, the reoccurring it is balanced. It does show that $435,000. If you go on down to the food and beverage, it'll be on page 16. We do have in that budget other capital outlays, project that we have already approved. It is budgeted a little higher than what, just in case there are issues as far as costs. We did decide that we would split the costs with food and beverage and the Parks Department. There are some other items on there that were in the capital outlay plan or capital improvement plan. I don't know that we've discussed those as far as moving forward or not, but they are budgeted for. If you look at the food and beverage, you will notice that it is also marked yes, that it is balanced other than those projects that are one-time expense. Our park operating and our park non-reverting are not balanced budgets. The park operating, if you look closely at it, it brings us down, if we spend the full amount budgeted, that will bring us down to a 22.2% reserve. While the State Board of Accounts probably says that's close and sufficient, it is. It does not give us a cushion at all. Should there be a delay in property tax notices, should there be a economic downtrend or anything like that. I think Paige has told us before between 20 and 25%. Chris is here. Chris, is there anything in your budget that you looked at? I know we talked about $115,000 above receipts.
To be completely honest, we didn't really have any communication of whether we were supposed to cut or anything, so I initially did a zero-based budget, so if I need to find $115,000 to do that, I mean, I know we cannot bring in an additional $115,000.
Okay.
So
know if any of that budget is just one-time expenses, or?
There are no capital items or one-time expenses.
The concern is it's just not sustainable. If it's, can get by, and if the council wants to cut that out of there now, this year, and force Chris to make those cuts somewhere in the budget, we can do that. We can leave it in there and leave it at her discretion, or we can just leave it in there and hope that something happens for the next year. There are, she said that there were no capital improvement items in there, so
All of our capital improvement things from the capital improvement plan, and nothing of that has been communicated or changed, so we haven't updated any of that. Our board hasn't met regarding that yet, but all of those, I believe, page had was funded with food and beverage.
right. And there's none in your general operating fund. Okay. That is something for the council to decide. If you go down to her park non-reverting operating, I think that is that could be just a misconception on where we're at as far as revenue. I know by ordinance, I think we have that as a balanced budget in the ordinance. Is that correct, Chris?
That I don't remember. I know having a budget for the non-reverting operating is fairly new. Again, I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do. I did a zero-based budget, so there are other expenses that we can take out that aren't accounted for. It was just kind of, all right, put the rest of the money in there because we weren't told how else to do the budget. So I'm not concerned about non-reverting. We can reduce numbers on there. All of that is relative to revenue coming in or what expenses going out. So I can adjust that without a problem.
The other items, the general fund, the MVH fund, they are sustainable and probably could be cut at this time, but not necessarily have to be cut. Paige, is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
I had forwarded my thoughts on it. We didn't cut the budget in any way. The thoughts, if you look at the budgets as they stand, they do reflect, and they're not approved at this point in time, but they do reflect a total of the salaries requested by all departments divided by the number of employees. While we had some asking for a little and some asking for a lot, it does reflect within the departments right now a $2,500 across the board raise for all the departments. The funding is the same as what was advertised. We are not setting the salary ordinance this evening. The revenues are there. But as they are in place now, that's what it shows. It also reflects moving $40,000 of police insurance to the edit fund. And what that allows us to do is fully fund with property tax dollars on a reoccurring basis the K-9 line item and the body cams. Now, the body cams, if you look at them, it does show it as fully funded. I know that Chief Buckner is working on a grant application that would put us possibly having not that much invested in it. But in speaking to him, and I agree wholeheartedly, this is a very important piece of equipment for both the town and the citizens of the town. That one move does allow us to fully fund it as a line item. The general park and non-reverting we've discussed. Moved the cemetery mowing from edit to CCD, and also increased it. This is a bid year coming up on our cemetery. Is that correct, Dave? So we will bid that as a 1 and 2 year contract or a 2-year contract, and we don't know where that's going to be. This does move police cars to CCD. The rest of the balance was funded at revenue estimates. That would put a permanent, reoccurring expense on CCD that would be sustainable for cars. That's one of the areas that we had taken out to a couple years ago to try to sustain a pay increase for our fire department. Or for our police department, excuse me. We didn't give it the fire department nothing. I forgot that. This also moves $80,000 for the fire department extraction tools to edit. That is a one-time purchase. It does shallow up the edit funds that could be used for other items, but still keeps us solvent in that. It did increase the capital outlays into food and beverage to match the revenues. We do have the projects that are above it, but it did increase the other capital outlays. I know this year we had $370,000 that we had to additional appropriate out of that fund in order to do our steam in place sewer projects. That's the highlights of the Mooresville town budget. I need comments or questions from the board.
Paige, do you have any suggestions for the park operating like as a long-term solution?
I mean, there are a few options. So one would be for the town council in the next year's budget to consider shifting property tax away from another controlled fund like general or motor vehicle highway. The problem is, though, that means you may have to cut your budget out of general or MPH. There's only so much property tax to go around. We can check again next year to see if you're eligible for an excess levy appeal, which would permanently increase your overall maximum levy. That may help as well, since you had an increase in your net assessed value. Another option would be to look at maybe increasing fees for park services, to generate additional revenues.
Food and beverage can't be used for operating.
I don't know what your ordinance says about food and beverage, can it? I don't know.
Originally it said improvements.
Okay.
Okay, and irrespective of all of the items that he talked about, let's just talk about salaries only. If we left it at the advertised, and I realize the salary ordinance doesn't get passed tonight, but if we leave it at the original requests that occurred during the workshop from the department heads, the balance is exactly, the budgetary result is the same.
Yes, the totals are the same.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Do you have any questions or comments?
None.
Any other questions or comments?
No.
Greg Sweeney, any questions or comments?
I need you to unmute.
Unmute?
Councilman Sweet.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering about the police cars. I knew they were spoken for, but I didn't know how they were.
Say it again.
Yeah, I knew about the police, I knew we spoke, Gary spoke for police cars. I didn't know how capable they were, I was just wondering.
Carrie, I don't know if you made any true commitment to it, but you did talk to and create an option of piggybacking on one of the other departments. Is that correct? overbid or underbid? The funding for that, though, I guess, and I'm assuming you're still going with I don't think it was the Cadillac, but it was the one below that one. The Maserati. There you go. That's just a two-seater. Have you or can you check into possible financing through like GMAC, and then also work with Diana? I know in the past, the last set of cars that we bought, we found out that locally we could beat Ford's financing with one of the local banks.
Yeah, so I spoke with Diane, and she wanted me just to present her a total bill, including all the equipment that gets put in, plus the vehicle, and the setup fee, and just give her everything all at once instead of piecemeal it. And then she was gonna, I guess, reach out and see what we could do as far as financing.
Any other questions, Greg?
No, I see it.
Dustin, questions?
No, you and I went back and forth over the phone while I was away, and I think it's the first time in a long time you and I may have chipped at each other for a while, but I think your reasoning was valid in the end after talking to others.
My only concern is the sustainability of the park. That 22% is still, I think we do have a capital improvement fund there that we could fall back on in the event of an emergency. But she's saying that none of them are capital improvement projects. If we give up, and I'm trying to, I want to wrap my head around one thing. Let's say that we give up $10,000 worth of levy. It is a township park. Would there be matching funds based on AV from the township also? Or does that 10,000 account for their income as well as ours?
So if you increase the park fund levy, then the people in the township would pay a higher rate for park services, is basically what that would be. Well, everybody's going to pay a higher rate, but that's going to affect the township people as well.
But if we give up some of the general fund levy, we give up $100,000 worth of our levy, we cut it out of one of our general funds, and we put it in there. Is that divided? Is that $100,000 divided between township and town?
It's the whole area,
Okay.
yeah, that gets taxed, which includes the township.
All right, I'm not making this.
$100,000 would be additional revenue coming into the park fund, and it's a rate that's going to be taxed on everybody within the town, including the township. If you're wanting to see how much is contributed, I could run a calculation
No,
to see.
I just didn't know.
but
I didn't know if we, in order for them to get another $100,000, do we give up $100,000 out
Yes.
of our general fund?
Yes.
And
Yes.
do they give anything up out of their general fund to
To the
match that?
township?
The township?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
you agreed to have a park district, so the township doesn't give up anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
The revenue that's going in there is based off of the entire, okay.
Yeah, you have a dollar amount maximum levy, whether you ship that all to park or not, it's just $1 amount, so it is a dollar for dollar shift.
Okay.
Yeah.
The law enforcement continuing education, if you look at that, it says it's not sustainable, but I think those are budgeted items that the chief next year can look at and maybe match that back to revenue. The CCI, there's been some, I think you said that was slowly going away or dropping off
It
because...
continues to decline because less people are smoking, so we will, I mean, I think we'll see a continued decline.
Questions or comments?
That's the latest on food and beverage. You talked about it maybe sunsetting, didn't you, at one point?
Not food and beverage, I talked about the riverboat revenue possibly
okay.
sunsetting. And so with the riverboat revenue, I mean, that's gonna, there's some kind of graduated formula to where I think it will eventually just be redistributed to other entities like the state.
That's kind.
Or not distributed.
Or not distributed at all, yes.
The riverboat at this time, we do have that funded, if you remember, for the match on the community crossings matching grant.
Yes.
Because our MVH restricted would not quite cover if we get the full $1 million. Comments or questions? Motion?
Motion to approve the 2023 budget that was presented tonight.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
I think hold on. Hey, Councilman Sweeney, I think you said something. I've been muting you because I'm getting some feedback here, so when you're not talking, I mute you. If you can unmute before you speak.
Sorry, was that you?
I've been muting you because there's some feedback when your audio, when you're not muted over here. So when you're speaking, if you could just make sure you unmute. I didn't know if you had seconded that or not. I saw you say something to the camera.
Okay, I just seconded your motion.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor? Well, roll call. Jeff?
Opposed?
Shane?
Aye.
Dustin?
Aye.
Craig Sweeney? I'm an aye. Motion pass, Dustin Gregg, 4-1. Councilman Cook opposed.
Could I ask a quick question about the process upcoming for the salary ordinance? How will that process go? It just gets put on the agenda, and then can we have two salary ordinance prepared, one to match this and one to match the original, and then take a vote on that?
Yeah, I mean, you can do it any way that you direct us to prepare it. I mean, normally what you do is you have the line items, because remember, the salary ordinance is the maximum that you can pay
Right.
a position. It's not what you're paying a position.
So,
And so you can go through and we can do it with just a $2,500 increase on each line item, I think is what is in the budget, or a separate thing, but you're going to have to give us guidance as to which positions you want to put more in. Does that make sense?
Well, I think what you're saying is as they were advertised, correct?
yes,
For two.
as the department heads requested, yeah, one as they requested, and then one with Tom's plan of the 2,500.
Yeah.
You do that? Okay.
Paige, thank you. Do we need to print?
Upload.
Nothing
If
changed.
there's anything that needs to be updated, right?
Okay, so do we need to sign Form
That
4
Form
tonight?
4, yes.
Do you have that?
I can, well, I have, yes, I do have it. Make sure I didn't write on it.
What do we do on his? Do we put? what, if it has to go tonight? What do we do about his? Via phone?
Okay, so,
I don't know that anybody's ever thought of
so we have 5 business days to upload this, so please get the signature within that time frame.
Thanks.
There's Dean Mayfield. Hi, Dean Mayfield. Do you need anything else for us to do on the budget page?
No, Diana, if you could just, once that's signed, just email it to me and I'll upload it for you.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Trustmark Tier 4 Dean Mayfield.
Mike, probably.
Good?
You're good.
All right. I'm back. In August, we talked about the Tier 4 pharmacy program through Caremark. And at that time, we talked about doing away with that. It took a little bit of time to get through the compliance department at Trustmark to make sure that we could actually do away with the Tier 4 drugs under our plate. And they came back and said, yes, we can. We don't have to offer them at all, but we do have an alternative already in place with the ElectRx plan. So at the August meeting when I was here, I asked you not to vote on it at that time because I wanted to make sure that we could do it legally through compliance, and we can. This form I just gave you, handout, is an update. It shows through September, so through 9 months, we're at $189,000 of savings, which if you extrapolate that out, is about $252,000, almost $253,000 of savings. And that's before we add the additional 12 people that are not currently on utilizing the ElectRx plan. So once those 12 additional members go on with the drugs, prescriptions that they're taking, I estimate that that's going to be about another $200,000 in savings. So $450,000 probably in savings next year. My plan is, if you approve this tonight, which I think you were ready to do in August, is we have until January 1. This would not go into effect until January 1. There's an endorsement that will have to be signed. My plan would be to meet with probably all of the departments as we did before, just to make them aware, because actually there's a lot of awareness. I've been getting a lot of phone calls. And but the 12 that are not currently on the plan that should be on the plan, we'll send something specifically to them. It'll be more of a generic approach to everybody else, because there are some people that have changed drugs, changed the prescription, maybe weren't on the list before, that now are on the list, and they've actually reached out to us and said, is the prescription I'm taking on that list? We've looked it up. It is. They called in and made the switch. So everybody that's using it, I've not had anybody that complains about anything as far as the service. So, any questions?
basically, it looks like there's 15 people on it currently, and you anticipate adding 12 more,
12 more,
so almost
yeah.
double.
So to give you a perspective, that's 27 people out of about 252 that are on the plan. It's 10% driving.
But it makes that much difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have it, and it's easy.
Can you talk to me about if there's a medicine that's not on the plan? Can you explain what you explained to me about waiving?
Yeah, let's
So they
just say
understand
the
that.
latest, greatest blood thinner comes out, your doctor says that's the one you need to be on, and it's not available under this. We've not experienced that at all yet, but let's just say that happens. The employee's gonna call ElectRx, they're gonna say it's not available yet, the next call's gonna be me or Debbie or Diane, you know. And we can override that. Now, in the past when I've done that as an override, I've called the insurance committee and just said, hey, XYZ drug is not available. This is the cost. We need to override it until it's available under this plan. And we've never had an issue where the insurance committee's not said that. If it was a low-cost drug, I kind of made that, it was $400, but if it was $5,000, I made the phone call and said, hey, we need to override this. And that's what would happen until ElectRx could fill it. And I don't even anticipate that happening. What I anticipate happening is we're gonna have these meetings. We're gonna reach out to these 12 people again. We're gonna give them the 800 number and say you need to call ElectRx. They'll do all of the enrollment. They'll reach out to your doctor. They'll get all the new prescriptions, so they're 90 days going to this pharmacy. And I can almost guarantee you that January 1, when the Caremark program stops, be somebody that has not switched. And at that point, we just have to decide what we want to do. Do we say, tough, you've had 2 months or 3 months to know that, or do you say, okay, they can fill it one time under the old program at the higher cost to the town. It's not a higher cost to the employee, and that would be the insurance committee's call.
I just wanted our employees to know that that is an option
It is
and
an
that is available to them, so.
Yeah, I mean, this list of drugs, actually Debbie got a list the other day, I didn't even have the most current list. It's extensive, so, yeah, for the very expensive drugs.
Just for the council, for the rest of the council, this is not something that the insurance board came up lightly. We've talked about this since our renewal last year. We've bounced around from being very aggressive with raising deductibles across the board, because the problem is you could say, okay, now we're going to charge, instead of the $10 or $20, we're going to charge $500 every time you fill one of these, but our total out-of-pocket deductible per family is $1,500. So when it gets to you fill 3 prescriptions, you're not paying anything anyhow.
Right.
Jeff and I, we struggled with this. I mean, this could have been detrimental to a lot of people that really aren't affecting the system. At our last, next to our last insurance board meeting, I think, we talked about being able to segregate the expensive drugs. It's not anything that the board came up with, as far as it's nothing new. There are companies that have been doing it. It's just something that the board recognized for the first time. Jeff has gone above and beyond trying to get this in place.
Reached out to a bunch of members.
He's talked to people. He's I don't want to say threatened, but he's told the facts. This is what's going to happen, and I think he was fair and kind to him. But it is time, I think.
When you're talking about the potential for 450,000, and you've not increased the cost to the employees of what they pay, your costs have gone up. Your costs have gone up over the last 20 years. Every year they go up a little bit. But the $2,250 that the employees pay per pay period has been the same as 25 years, 30 years, I mean, a long time. And again, I'll just say, you don't have a Cadillac plant. You don't have a Maserati plant. You got a Rolls Royce Ferrari plant. And they say if my wife doesn't get reelected, she's going to be the newest town of Mooresville employee. She's going to be finding a job. She may be working for Dave, working on the street. I don't care, because it's that good. And I think the employees that have used it, especially the ones that have families that have used it and have come in and sit down and had any kind of major claim that they know is going to happen, and have sit there in front of me and said, what is this going to cost me? And I go, $500, $1,500. And they go, what? I go, that's it. I mean, yeah, my deductible through the state is $7,000. So, and I think that's a great plan. So, yeah, it's good. And I mean, the amount of savings, you just can't ignore it. It's not, the drugs are the same. And actually, the employee's better off because we don't even charge them a copay for this plan. We want them to use it, so we don't even charge them a copay to utilize the plan. So it's essentially, it is free. It's free to them. So, but the town's saving, on an average, is 45%, 45% on all those expensive drugs. It's honestly, don't know how it works other than Canada controls the cost, and we don't. Because these drugs go from here to Canada and come right back, and it's the same drugs. So
You're approaching almost $500,000 for the same drug
right.
of savings. It's too much.
I'll share this. When I started as your insurance agent, our drug costs weren't $200,000. You remember that? Our whole prescription plan was not when we hit $200,000, oh my God. So to save $500,000 and be able to keep everything else the same, it's basically a no-brainer. But yeah, a little bit of education for the employees.
And I also think that when it's time to rebid, I think the reinsurers will see that,
Yes.
and they'll probably lower our aggregate attachment points.
And they did that this year a little bit because we anticipated that this is what we were going to do, that they removed some lasers off of some people, because the only reason they had the lasers on them was because it wasn't their medical costs, it was the drug costs were, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. So it was pretty crazy. I mean, some of these drugs are $5,000 a prescription.
All right. Some
Yeah. So,
motion.
Motion to approve.
you want me to tell you what we're doing? We're removing the tier 4 drugs
There you go.
from Caremark. Period.
But we're extending the.
This is already available.
Yeah.
So we're not making a change. All we're doing is removing the tier 4 drugs from Caremark. So if the employee chooses not to do this plan, their other option is they can pay for them out of pocket. I don't think anybody's going to be doing that. This is the stick method.
But it is tier 4 with the exception of if they don't
Yes,
have it.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Dustin, is that in the form of a motion?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Jeff? Aye. Shane?
Aye.
Craig? Dustin?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Motion passes. Dustin, Shane, 5-0. Thank you, Dean.
I will get the endorsement form, and I will get with Diana ready to schedule the meetings.
Hey,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry I was late. Had a little congressional.
next item on the agenda is
Fundraising.
the Monroe Carlisle title search. This was brought up at our last meeting. Jewel wanted to look at
I can speak to that. There are a few items on the contract that I wanted changed, like the venue and everything. I had talked to Banning Engineering. They agreed to make all of those changes. I forwarded the wrong document to Diana. So all of the changes, I'm good with the contract that's been agreed to. This is the wrong one in front of you, so what I would ask the council to do is approve the contract in the proper form as approved by legal, and then allow Tom to sign once I get him that document.
Now, this is outside of the scope of the Community Crossings Matching Grant as far as being able to fund it that way. Is there any thoughts on funding?
Would CCD be eligible?
Will it be done this year? We could encumber it out of.
Yeah, it could be encumbered because you have an invoice.
CCD's non-reverting, so we can, so we could do it out of that.
Unless somebody else has.
Any other thoughts?
But my guess is it's gonna be done this year. It's 8 title searches.
He made it sound like he'd get them pretty quick.
Joel, the fee schedule that's here, that's not different.
No.
You're talking about the legalese and the
You're
contract.
right, it's the boilerplate language that they
Okay.
included. I want some changes to that.
Motion to approve Banning Engineering title search contract.
Motion to approve the title search as revised by legal with Tom as the signature.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Jeff?
Aye.
Shane?
Aye.
Greg? Say it again, Greg.
I need you just to unmute.
Your vote? Aye. Thank you. Dustin?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Jeff, Shane, 5-0. Victorian Christmas street closing permit. Evening.
I believe I've submitted my permit, signed by department head in proper order. We're requesting to close the streets December 3rd this year, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The event is 10 to 4, but we can set up a tear down time. Kind of same thing in past years. On Main Street from Clay Street to, I just learned the alley is called Concord. And then on Indiana from Harrison to just south of the Citizens Bank parking lot so they can still have access for customers. We will use dump trucks for barricades so we don't have to worry about any traffic getting through. And I know Chief Dalton said if High Street is open, but I don't have any concerns for that. I believe it's scheduled to be open.
Do you have a contingency plan if it's not open?
Parking lots, like they did for street fairs. On my application, I've requested 3 parking lots as well. So the town court parking lot behind this building, and then the parking lot in between, I believe now it's Buffalo Gal and whatever's on the end there where the mural is.
We had talked, you had asked me about maybe using the government center again during the event. Do you still have interest in doing that?
I do. I would love if we could put carolers on the stage. As I understand, many years ago, they used to have several Christmas trees throughout this building. It's always nice to have indoor space. If people get cold, they can pop in. You have the stage. I actually haven't been down here for the Lions Pancake Breakfast. I don't know where they serve from, but I think we could stay out of their way.
The stage is separate from them.
Okay.
Yeah.
But is there a separate form I have to fill out for use of
There,
this building?
there would be, and in the past, I think I don't know what happened with the security of the building or what happened to cause us to close that, but I did speak with Chief Buckner. I haven't spoken to the rest of the council, but he thought he could designate an officer to the building, correct, for that day?
So if there's another form I need to fill out for that, I'll be happy to do so. But I would like people to be able to come in. I plan this year to put kind of fun facts about the Victorian period around the town, and I'd like to put some posters in here, if you allow people in the building, to kind of peruse, warm up. And then, I don't know if you guys still have Christmas decorations, but I would love if you say yes, you do.
Do.
I think we sold them.
But if you're going to use the stage, you need to let us know in advance, because Dave typically puts our largest tree on the stage. So,
If you allow us to use it, we will. We have so much entertainment this year. We'll have carolers all over.
I'm all for using the building, but I don't know, is there a policy that prevents it?
basically, you will need to call Julie in Dave's department, and she will have you fill out an application. There's a $50 deposit, but it's refundable. Once, we come in and we find everything was left the way you found it. And just let her know, fill out that application so she can get you on the door opening schedule.
Okay.
So we'll be able to open the doors electronically for you that morning
Okay.
and close them.
Thank you.
Need a motion to approve with her contingency plan, and I don't think there's any motion needs to be made on the building. It's part of the policy, so just get with Dave.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the street closing permit with contingencies that are built in and according to department head requirements for 12/3/2022 Victorian Christmas.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Jeff?
Aye.
Shane?
Aye.
Craig?
Aye.
Dustin?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Have a party.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I decided if I had a whole bunch of money, I got some quotes to the tune of about $60,000. Victorian Christmas could be epic if you're interested in that.
60,000?
60,000.
That doesn't seem like a whole lot if you say it real fast.
Yeah.
One other thing, real quick, they can't sell items in the government center, correct? So you couldn't have merchants.
Yeah, we won't do vendors. Mostly entertainment.
Okay.
Just to warm up.
I just
and
thought
then-
we'd say something so you don't
Yeah,
start
I got
planning.
that.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Before us, we have Declaratory Resolution 17, Overton Industries. This is declaring the area where Overton Tool is located as a revitalization area. It also sets the public hearing for a possible tax abatement on both real and personal property. I think we started here not too long ago. When they have real and personal, we just use one declaratory resolution for the revitalization area. Is that correct? Correct. Mike, is there anything you want to say?
In the sense of expediency, Mr. President, at the time last meeting, because I think the SB one finds $850,000 investment on new equipment for the automotive industry, 15 new jobs, $620,000 in additional payroll. And at this point, the company in the automotive industry on this project by itself, there will be subsequent projects for this personal property. This will be about a $250 to $300 million part stamping and converting process that Overton is going to solve.
I think the only thing that's really different with this one than other ones is I believe they're asking for the 5-year abatement schedule as opposed to the traditional 10-year abatement schedule.
Well, actually, what we'll do is this. Under our matrix, I believe they qualify for the 5-year tax abatement. But what we hoped would be that because of some training costs that come into this new product line, we discussed with the redevelopment commission's advisor as to whether there might be an opportunity for us to provide some local training money as it was requested by the company. And then both the RDC consultant and the EDC agreed, rather than trying to obtain training money, was could we on this special project enhance from a 5-year that the matrix identifies to make this a 10-year process on this project only.
But on the personal property, it looks, and I'm assuming that's what you're saying, on the personal property?
Right.
On the personal property, per the matrix, I don't know, I read through, and it looks like they qualify for the 10-year.
If that's the case, then that's my review error, and that would be even all the better for us if they qualify.
Well,
I thought that the matrix showed that it was a 5-year, maybe it was just a 5-year on the real property. But again, what we'd hoped to do was create an upfront opportunity for them to capture some of that abatement so they could apply it in their capital plan to training on this new production line.
But on the personal property, what are you saying the investment is on the personal property?
It's around $855,000, as I recall, the $798,000 on the manufacturing equipment. Then there's some additional R&D equipment and IT equipment that qualifies as well.
And
So that, yeah,
the reason that I kept going over that is on the investment, you do have circled on personal property, the two for $500,000 or less. And I kept reading the SB ones, and it is showing it as the $800,000.
Right, I think there was an original submittal of an SB1 that was then revised, but as I recall, that was only a $70,000 revision on the personal property.
Can you take a look at that?
So-
Tell me your,
so the issue is, you were at 19 on the score, but that is with a 2 for the investment. But if it's gonna be that $700,000 to $800,000 figure, you'd be 3, and then you get additional
And we
point to
get
put it to
20,
20.
So that would take it to the 10.
Yeah.
That would be perfect. Thank you for that, for the recalculation. So that was our intent, was to help them with that 10-year abatement, which they've obviously scored for the matrix on this additional capital investment. So we appreciate that. And then Mr. Bowie, the CEO of the company, will be here for the public hearing as well when we schedule that.
What matrix are you looking at? Mine does say 10. I mean, I'm sorry, 20 or above for the 10.
Personal.
That's the personal.
For the personal property, they had scored a 19.
Okay, I just haven't gotten all the way through it yet.
Yeah, so they actually both scored a 3.
Okay, I see. There it is. Okay, there's the one you're looking at. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Got it.
That takes us to 10 and 10.
Yeah.
so before us, we have Resolution 17, 2022. This is designating the area as a redevelopment area or revitalization area, allowing tax abatements to be made as long as they do not interfere or detrimental to the revitalization area. I need a motion to either approve or deny Resolution 17, 2022.
Motion to approve Resolution 17, 2022.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Jeff?
Aye.
Shane?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Dustin?
Aye.
And I'm an aye also. Dustin, Shane, 5-0. Next item on the agenda, November 1st is the public
Thank you
hearing.
very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Next item on the agenda is historic downtown Mooresville issues.
I put this on here just out of some complaints or concerns in the downtown, and I think we're kind of at a historic juncture right now because we have the comprehensive plan en route to being finished, and we also have, I believe, the UDOs being looked at to update it. In the comp plan, it typically carves out the historic downtown because of the nature of the downtown, and it is a kind of a unique area to the town, and comes with its own set of, I guess, things that would make it unique and keep it unique. So I think, I'm wondering if we shouldn't look at things like minimum standards after the tornado. So much of the buildings have been redone. I know years ago, a lot of the buildings were in disrepair, not painted. I've gotten complaints about awnings being faded. There's some that are really torn up. We're starting to see murals pop up without any sort of permitting like a sign would have. And sometimes it can go both ways. It can be difficult on the building owner and the business owner and costly to put up an awning, as an example, when awnings are very apropos to the downtown. Same with signs that are vertical. We talked about this the other day, Gina. So signs that are perpendicular to the building where the UDO may not allow it, or it may require a lot of hassle through a variance, but it's very fitting in the downtown. And some of the time, you'll see signs go up that are, huge plastic square signs that a lot of people don't think fit the genre of the downtown. So I remember a building was painted years ago, solid pink with bright green trim. People were complaining about that. So I don't know if we should start as a town with the input of building owners and business owners, looking at sort of carving out the downtown and having a set of minimum standards for it. And also make it a little easier for them to do the things that improve their buildings. So that's one issue. I just kind of wanted to bring it up. The second issue, I think the downtown park has been an issue for a long time, since its inception, really, of not being used. And I mentioned to Dave Moore and the park board, they of course haven't voted on it or anything, but I just mentioned the idea of perhaps the town taking the park back, because our department heads are so involved with everything around the park. The permitting process is pretty cumbersome when they have to go to the town and the park system. Our guys are down there maintaining the flowers and so forth around the park, that kind of thing, and all the department heads in the town are involved whenever there's an event. But the park is sorely vacant most of the time, and I think maybe we could find a solution where a few more events get held there. That could be an issue of streamlining permits, which right now our permits don't really include the parking lots, but maybe we should add those to the permits. And then we already talked about Victorian Christmas, allowing people to use the building, so that's been handled. Lastly, the 200th anniversary is coming up in 2024, so I think we should start looking at banners for the light poles, both the new ones that don't have any, because they were put in after the initial order, but also for the existing poles where they're starting to get faded. Into the new year, maybe we should start looking at what to do about that for the upcoming anniversary. So those were my issues.
The downtown area, aren't those buildings on like a registry?
They are. I just don't know that I've never really seen any sort of governance about it, but they are on a historic registry.
I thought that once those went on there, we were kind of out of the loop on that. Would you want to check into that and see?
Sure.
Because I think there's been some remodeling done on some of the buildings that I don't know if it was supposed to be redone that way. So I think since
Do you know anything about that, Jewel?
Normally, if you are registered as a historical structure, there are standards that go along with any work that are done to it, so that controls what is allowable to remain on that registry. And so I could look into that, but I'm not sure what that is. Generally speaking, when you talk about downtown areas and kind of what you were talking about with the different things, it would be through your UDO process of essentially creating a separate area, which you would have to outline out and then put the standards separate in there. So that would go with the UDO, but you'd have to make that comply with the historical registry standards as well.
Shane, if you want to check into that, that would be.
Yeah, I just think we're at a juncture where there's almost all the buildings have been redone. We have a chance to really keep it nice. Lastly, I was going to ask about 1 East Main. What are our options? What are the options there as far as getting the town the money back for the demolition and or the town getting control of the property?
There are options. I think that I would prefer that those be discussed in executive session.
Okay,
There are a lot of different things that, for consideration, that fall under what executive session allows.
I think we should move forward with scheduling that, maybe. With the 200th anniversary, I think we need to be proactive in trying to get taxpayers either their money back or moving forward.
Okay, we will do that. If you would individually, let me know your availabilities and we'll schedule something.
Okay. The next item was kind of related, the code compliance. Do you want to announce it as the president? I didn't mean to overstep you. So, do you care?
You're on the roll.
So, I get a lot of complaints, a lot of calls are regarding tall weeds and grass, or junk stacked in yards, or parked vehicles on, immovable vehicles in yards. And the problem with code compliance here that I've seen, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like it's also a cumbersome process where we don't have, you have department heads try to send letters, and then you have to have legal get involved, and town council has to vote because there's money if it doesn't get handled. But what do other towns do with this? I mean, do they have a code compliance officer? Because what happens is, if somebody will complain to an elected official, and if the elected official says anything to any people, they automatically accuse you of political retribution or something crazy. But I think it should be an apolitical, but it needs to be handled. I get complaints all the time that we don't get things handled. The other day we had somebody dump a pile of dirt in the middle of his town street, and I called the police chief, and our police chief was out there, drove by the property,
So in a lot of other communities, what happens is they do have a dedicated code enforcement officer or a subset of the police department. They aren't sworn officers, they don't go through the academy, but they are given the authority to write citations under the ordinances for like tall grass and weeds or trash and debris, things of that nature. The problem that you run in with that is you've got to fund that position. And so in some communities are large enough that they have excess in their budget to go through that, or that the revenues that are derived from the ordinance violations that are set get to a point where it covers some of it, the costs associated with it. But I mean, you really would need to have somebody dedicated whose job it is to go look for the violations.
Is there a board that approves them, or is it just the code, like the authorities given to the code enforcement person?
The code enforcement person is given the ordinances, they write the citation. You generally order a separate citation book for ordinance violations, just like a ticket book for, well, I guess what they used to have is ticket books, now it's all on computer for them. But it's an ordinance violation form, you fill it out, it's turned in, it's put into the system, generally to go to the town court, if somebody wants to challenge it, things of that nature. But they're just given the authority, and then they're offered the ability to have a hearing in front of the town court to say, no, I am in compliance, or no, I'm not in compliance, here's the solution for it. But you give them the authority for that.
Have you ever seen any sort of hardship waiver, like say you had an elderly person that just can't, for whatever reason, can't mow their yard? Have you ever seen anything like that?
I have seen communities having mowing contracts, so that when a yard reaches a certain point, and after a warning to get it mowed, if it's not, then you roll out that under that bid agreement with the service provider. You say, here's the list of properties that need to be mowed. They go out and mow it. you take that per lot fee and you go for a citation on that to try and collect those fees for the mowing. And when you get into that situation, having a determination saying that person can't get it done, but you waive it on like a one-time situation, but not necessarily, you don't want to have the mowing contractor, essentially the town paying to mow somebody's yard all the time.
Right. Also was thinking with the buffer zones going away, there may be opportunities with existing personnel to use somebody existing or change a job description. I know they probably hate me for saying that, but the buffer zones contributes a lot to what goes through planning commission right now and through the town. So it might be a chance to look at revamping some things internally. But I think we need to look at something. People come to me and say, why can't the town get this solved? I understand private property rights. I'm a big private property rights person. I don't like the government telling me what to do, but I also think you have to be a good neighbor. So it's a balance.
And most of the ordinance that you have written that are citable like this are ones that have an impact on the health and welfare of the community. If you have tall grass and weeds, it leads to a situation in which rodents and different varmints can get in there. If there's trash and debris, you lead to collection of water, which is a nesting ground for mosquitoes, which can spread disease. So there's a lot of ties to the health and welfare, and that's the time in which a community can come in and take those actions. So there is a fine line between an individual's property rights and when it starts impacting the rest of the community. But that's generally what those ordinances are written for. That's why they're generally classified as public nuisance types of ordinances.
That's all I. The way that our weed ordinance is written, an affected property makes a complaint. That gives the officer the probable cause. It keeps someone, I think the way it was written in the past was, or the reason it was written that way, what I was told, was to keep someone from saying, hey, go check that one, go check that one. Is that not a standard throughout the state?
It depends upon the size of the community. There are several communities that have dedicated code enforcement where their job is to drive around.
No probable cause, just looking at it.
And it's a visual inspection, and when they see, because you're able to see, now they can't go into the property, but if from street level they're able to see a violation of the ordinance with tall grass and weeds or trash and debris or things of that nature, that visual from a public right-of-way witnessing is enough for essentially the problem call to write the citation. There are other communities that don't have the funding for an ordinance enforcement officer, that it happens the way you're talking about. A complaint is called into the department sends somebody out to issue the citation. It all depends upon what budgetary restraints are essentially for each community.
Shane, did you have any more?
No, I just think we should maybe look at the ordinances and see where we stand and if we have any options. I just think we look kind of feckless at times, and people get pretty upset about it.
Brian Hopwood, is there someone here representing him? Dave, do you know?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
Brian Hopwood, was he sending someone to? Okay.
Request to be on the agenda.
Okay. Department head reports. Not everybody at once. Hurry, beat the fireman. Hurry, beat the fireman. Come on. He's nearing.
I had a question about, we're getting more requests for video, both the interview room videos and car videos, body cams that the officers bought themselves, and we're having to put those on memory sticks because we don't want to use outside memory sticks because we have virus on it. And I want to know what the process process is to maybe get an ordinance so we can recoup that money. So if, like Channel 6 wanted some video and it took 36 gigs of memory stick, and I would like to try to
Be able to
recoup-
charge them for
Yeah.
that
And
expense.
so I don't know what the process is about getting an ordinance or something.
Yeah, we would have to create a fee ordinance, so I one of the, if you can give me all the information regarding, okay, this is how much, like, here are our, flash drives, you know, we have this much memory on this one, this much on this one, this on this is how much it costs us for each. We can create a fee schedule that will have to be approved by the council.
Okay. So I'll just send you an email with that information then?
Yeah. Public art.
Police reports?
I mean, there are certain things that you can charge fees for, and other things that you can't. So if we're talking about police reports, I think what you're allowed to do is add a charge for the copying itself.
Per sheet,
Per sheet, right.
according to the IC code, I think we can charge up to $150 for video.
Correct.
And audio.
And so but it's really dependent upon what your expenses are, like.
Yes.
if-
Okay, thank you.
Chief, we mentioned vehicles a couple times. How many did you put on hold? Was it 4?
4.
4? Okay. How's the hiring process going?
I'm gonna start interviews on Monday. We'll have 3 qualified officers, but I'm gonna keep the list in case we lose any more. Well, a PT test for the non-tier ones. So go ahead and see who can pass that exam for IOEF.
How many, are you still accepting applications?
Year round. If we
Year
can
round.
get people in that field.
How many do you have now, do you know? Is it, last
About
night it was
30.
about 30?
But it takes time. We have to do background sometimes.
Right, yeah, you've been working on those. Good.
You said how many tier 1?
3.
3? And how many slots open?
3.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna just take it to be taking them, but if they,
Sure.
interview well, then backgrounds are done, and then we'll start to do, I guess, her physicals or go through, the place up there off of City First and Shademan, public safety, medical, I guess that's what they use. It's my first time doing that.
We're only down 3? I thought we were down 4.
We could be, I have to look at the numbers, but I think last time I looked it was 3.
3?
But we have some really good candidates to put in before, and I also have some reserve applications that I'm looking at.
Okay.
Can't turn away free help. All right, thanks.
Matt, did you notice the police got on the scene first?
That's really
He's just mad. Can't hear what your question was, though.
No, go ahead.
He called you a second responder.
Yeah. He's just mad because I passed the test twice. Both fire and law. So just real quick, just to kind of inform the council, I just got back Friday. Went to Emmitsburg to represent the town in Mooresville for the fire department. For Chief Metzger. It was very emotional. I hope I never have to do it again for anything. We honored 148 firefighters, men and women throughout the United States. It was very, very emotional. Neat to see, but don't want to do it again. I brought the book back for the public to look at, for council to look at. There's a scribe for his name, where his name was on a plate for his line of duty, and then also the book for all the other firefighters that was represented for that day. Again, I have nothing more on that one. It was just emotional all day, all weekend. So, it was a long weekend. For the reports, I know you guys were talking about, and this was kind of something new that we all got different with the capital improvement stuff. I did have, for the extrication equipment, it was like 80,000. I did find out it kind of went up a little bit. They had a little bit of an increase, and it's 83,000 instead of the 80,000. I did reach out on Monday. I have not heard anything, and I did have a lease purchase from Citizens Bank and Republican National, which had that broke down. I think I gave that to you guys at one point in time, and I can share that again if you wish on that. It gave, Citizens actually gives a 7-year lease purchase on that equipment, and Republican only does a 3 or a 5 year. It breaks it all down. I can let you guys look at it.
Is that based on the new pricing?
That is not on new pricing. That's why I said I kind of asked for it. They have not received it back yet. But this is what it was a couple of months ago. With that being said, with all that being done, the extrication equipment, as everybody knows, it's getting harder and harder for equipment to come in. And I was told by sales reps that they do have some stuff that they've ordered back in July that we as a town could have by the end of this year if we wish to move forward on it. Again, not knowing, I didn't know if I needed to say something during the budget proposal and all that stuff. I probably should have stepped up, and that's my fault if I didn't on that portion of it. Or we can wait and go for 2023 and possibly have it in July, maybe. That's a big maybe. We're just kind of looking on that. So basically, I'm asking for your guys' permission, if the blessing, to put our name on that list and maybe try to get it here in the next month or two and go from there.
Or two would work, because if we can get it in December and get 30 days on it, we can pay for it in January.
And that's
That's where the funding is. The funding is 2023 funding.
right.
that
He
we
said
approved.
that he's got it slated. Both reps basically said they can probably get it within around the first of November, middle of November, but it's depending on the manufacturers of everything. So it's just a matter of waiting. They get that notification that it's being shipped.
Tell them you want to place the order, but you only have $80,000.
Is that for one set or is that for two sets?
That is for one set with the complete, basically, of getting all the extrication equipment that we need to get updated.
And then you'd still have a backup set.
And then we would have a backup set and then try to replace that within the 5 years off that lease purchase. So,
So if he was able to get it by the end of the year and bill us in January, it'd already be budgeted.
that's what I was kind of hoping that we could try to shoot for, but I have not heard anything out of either sales reps on that. They just, they told me, which was right before I left to go to Emmitsburg, was that basically they're scheduled to have it coming in the end of October, the 1st of November. They just didn't know when. They're just waiting on that phone call or email, I should say.
Guess if there's a possibility that he would have the $4,000 left in his budget, we could go ahead and encumber it on that PO with the $80,000. Do you need it?
Education.
Yeah. Does council want to give him permission to go ahead and get it and try to negotiate the price and the dating on it?
Yes, I would.
That in the form of a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Jeff?
Aye.
Dane?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Dustin?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Go ahead and see what you can do on negotiating price. Tell them that there's one member of the council that's a real jerk on spending money. Oh, you probably already told them that, haven't
No,
you?
Also, real quick, I know that the budget has been talked about and this and that. I just want to leave one little thing of advice for you guys to kind of think about when we start talking about salaries and stuff like that here in the next month or two. I know we proposed a proposal for a pension pickup for the council, or for the town to pick up a portion of our pension for the fire department. I know that our insurance is great. I know that we pay well, and we're not as great as some agencies. But if you would, think about when you were 25, 26, did you care about your insurance? I know I didn't. That's what this younger generation does not care about. They don't care about their insurance. They don't care about all that. They care about what's going to come back into their pocket. With the proposal that I pitched to you guys as our council, or for our proposal for our budget, is basically giving that back into their pockets so they can buy food, pay their bills, this and that. So with that being said, I just ask you to think about when you were that age. If you didn't have a family, you didn't have kids, you didn't really care about the insurance. That's all I have. Thank you.
Chief, if you could stay there one section. Chief did ask us to get a resolution declaring personal properties as surplus. It is made up of a metal desk, 3 watering cans, generator, cut-off saw. The list is on here with the not VIN numbers, but the serial numbers on the items. The intent was to get this passed so that you could utilize the schools.
Right. The school, Dave Moore approached us, department heads, that said, hey, the school's having an auction. This was extra surplus that was sitting around. Some stuff can be fixed, but it's going to cost us more than to get it fixed than another to basically just use it for parts and this and that. Some of the stuff was just donated to us. That during the COVID stuff, people just dropped off stuff and we didn't have any use for it. So it's kind of basically just saying, hey, we just need to get rid of it. Get it out of our buildings and stuff. And I have relocated. I've even asked the park and Dave, the street department, if they can use some stuff. They did take some stuff off of our hands. So it's being reappropriated back through the towns and stuff like that. I was hoping Dave would take the slide out tray, but it was in the, 86 pickup truck, that they wouldn't fit. So, because I really didn't want to move it again.
So this resolution would declare this list of items surplus to then be auctioned off through the schools auction. When auctioning is one of the ways that you're allowed to dispose of the surplus property.
When's the auction?
October 26th?
Oh, so in other words, we don't have time.
Yeah, it was kind of sprung on this. We've got 3 of them. And I'm not even sure that one even works anymore.
Salesmanship.
It looks great.
Yeah, greatest thing ever, chief. What are you talking about?
Right?
Greg, the list is surplus items that Chief believes he does not need anymore. I apologize that we don't have a way to get them to you at this time. If you have questions, you may want to ask the Chief at this time. Gentlemen? Can you hear me, Greg?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Like I said, there are several items on here. He feels like they are surplus. I have no way to get you the list, so it's up to you how you want to vote at that time. Gentlemen, I need a motion to either allow these to be surplus or to have them hold them for the next auction.
I'll make a motion to allow the fire chief to surplus the items listed that the attorney's prepared.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Made and seconded. Jeff?
Aye.
Shane?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Dustin? And I am opposed. That is a Shane, Jeff, 4-1. We need to sign that, or is, yeah. Do you have anything else?
I have nothing else.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for representing our community in a tough time.
Thank you.
Nothing? Dave? Nothing? Okay. Legal counsel? What is this here?
Nothing to present.
Public comments. Does anyone here want to speak on for the good of the community? None? Motion for approval of payment of claims.
Make a motion, we approve claims in the amount of $469,930.44. 469,930.44.
Thank you.
Aye.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, Jeff?
Aye.
Ready? Aye.
I was trying.
Those cards.
That was aye.
Shane,
I thought he said aye, didn't he? I was
thought
aye.
he did. I thought, I'm just
Sorry,
making
I didn't
sure.
mean to jump the gun. I thought I heard
Greg?
you say aye.
Aye.
Dustin?
Aye.
And I'm aye. Question, or motion was Dustin Shane, 5-0. Council comments. Jeffrey?
Have none.
Shane?
A couple quick things. On the corner of the desk here, there's these little cards for the Mooresville 200th anniversary. You can scan these with your phone, or you can go to mooresville200.com and do a lot of things there. You can submit your ideas, or join a committee, or donate. And then I think, secondly, I'd like to just thank Dave Moore again, and the street department, the fire chief, also the fire marshal on what I thought was an outstanding job once we had the hiccup passed in the downtown, getting the downtown building down. I think Gentry Demolition did a really, really wonderful job and got it done as quick as they could, considering how difficult the job was. So I want to thank you for all the work. I know you put in a ton of time, and the fire chief, all of you, spent a lot of time talking with the contractor and helping them, and I appreciate it.
Greg? Do you have any comments?
Comment about Jeffrey and his crew also, just, there's something that they've done an excellent job, building out safe. On the first phase of this,
Anything else? Dustin?
One quick note, I've been getting some comments directed my way over from the redevelopment board. Just to remind the public, we have nothing to do with state roads. So State Road 144 traffic is not controlled by the RDC or the town of Mooresville. So no, we cannot pay for a light. No, we cannot put up a light. No, we cannot put up stop signs or anything else. So I understand there's traffic with the new high school being built and the wreck that happened on 144 has nothing to do with that. So please direct all your comments to the county commissioners and the local NDOT office.
There's 3 of them.
I'm happy to hit forward all day long.
Anything else? Our next meeting date will be November 1st. Are we going to do it here? You guys want to do it here?
Oh, the executive.
Chief. The phone call, there's 2 chiefs. Police chief. We had a conversation about Halloween. And the conversation was, are we going to allow trick or treat? Well, the problem is, I ate all my candy from the 2 parades that went by the shop, so I have nothing to give out. So I say no trick or treat. No, Chief came up with the idea that trick or treat should be limited to the hours of 5 to 8.
5 to 8 a.m.
It's going to be a long night. And also, the night of Halloween, Monday night. I'm assuming that is acceptable. He is the one that has done it in the past. I know we've already, we haven't adjourned yet, so we can consider that. Is that acceptable, a consensus of the board?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Greg? Yes, no, maybe? The trick or treat will officially be in the town of Mooresville from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Halloween night, Monday, October 31st. Is that acceptable?
That's fine, yes.
Okay. Again, our next meeting will be Tuesday, November 1st, 6:30 right here.
What about the executive? Do you want to try to schedule that now, or do you want to send out an email or?
I would say let him check his, everyone check their schedules.
Okay.
Like I said, contact me individually.
Okay.
And then we will go from there.
Okay, thanks.
I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Jeff?
Aye.
Shane?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Dustin? And I want to adjourn also. It is Dustin, Shane, 5-0. Everyone have a pleasant evening.
See you.
This